There was a time where these artists could roll out of bed, drop an album, and pretty
The
much
end
take
of an
over the
era.
rap scene. Guys like Lil Durk, Lil Baby, 21 Savage.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie. I stopped listening to that group of niggas in like what 21? I think 21. Yeah, because that was when like you know what? You know what's funny? I started watching Platboy Max at the same. Well, actually, no. I think watching Platboy Max made me start rocking with the underground. Cause like I had heard of Summers in like 2020, but that's it for real. But then I started listening to like Ken Carson heavy in 2021, and then yeah, like and then now I'm completely like off 21 and like nigga. If I hear 21 Savage in a song, bro, I'm turning that shit off, bro. Cause it's always gonna be, it's always gonna be. I got the. How does that nigga say it? I got the dick in my pocket. Pause. Pause. I got the stick in my pocket. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, them niggas never be talking about nothing, bro. For real.
Gunna,
I mean, okay, underground niggas don't talk about nothing either. I'm yapping, but it's like, nigga, it's just like 21 Savage's flow is literally nothing, bro. Like this shit is trash, respectfully.
Future, Travis Scott, Young Thug. These were the names of guys who have
And they be on the same types of beats. I'm sorry, bro.
basically kind of dominated the rap game ever since 2018, but it feels more and more like their time is up in terms of this just being their era. These artists have been the people who have really dominated mainstream hip hop. They've been the ones that have dominated the playlists like a Rap Caviar or any other mainstream rap playlist. These are the artists that have dominated the airways, dominated the radio, if you even listen to the radio or ever took the time to. These are the artists who have been the most impactful of this era, despite the fact that most of them aren't the most dominant in terms of numbers. Some of them are, but a lot of these guys aren't the most dominant in terms of numbers. Guys like Kendrick Lamar, Drake, and J. Cole, who are bona fide superstars and have been before this era even started, have had to kind of adjust to what these guys are doing and integrate
Hmm.
them into their own work and really follow their lead over this past like almost decade or so now.
Yeah.
These guys have been pretty much the flag bearers of rap since around 2018, but I feel like that moment is now coming to an end and that era is done. What's good, YouTube? It's Justice I used to be paying. Today I'm back with another video.
You
And
know,
in this
bro, I think like things will be way better if Roddy Rich didn't drop that weak ass album, Live Like Fast. Nigga, if that album was good, bro, he'd probably be top five right now. Now I'm a Roddy fan though, so that's so deep. But still, like Roddy, I mean Polo G was always just gonna be Polo G. I don't know. Who else, bro? Chance, bro. Chance didn't drop that weak ass album. He'd be top five right now. But the nigga just like I don't know, bro. Like who else? It's a lot of niggas that just fell off or died. A lot of niggas died too. But a lot of niggas that fell off that if they didn't fall off, bro, Rat would be in a much better place. I'm cute about.
this video, I'm going to be telling you why this is the end of an era. But before I get into that, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Do all those things. It helps me out a ton. From
Chill.
2018 really up until right about now, these guys could do no wrong. Like they just were
I
not
thought that was Lil
missing.
CJ.
Now, of course, they deserve the credit for that because they're the ones that dropped the music. Nobody did it for them. But once they were able to get people on board, there was no looking back ever since that moment. Like these guys were hitting on such
I
a
need
level
to
that
look at both.
almost
I'm
everything that
tripping.
they did was money.
Yeah, bro.
And you cannot go to a public setting right now that plays rap music and not hear at least one of those names that I mentioned. You can't even really go to any public setting that plays music in general
I
and
know.
not hear one of those names that I mentioned. Of course, if you go to like a country festival or like, you're going and listening to like an R&B night at an R&B place or R&B club, whatever you want to call it. Of course, they're not going to play their music. But I mean like if you go to a
An
place that has
R&B
just like
club.
in general mainstream popular music, you're going to hear one of those names that I mentioned earlier. And to make things even crazier, they all feature each other on their album. So if one of them drops an album, you're
Yeah,
gonna
that shit is terrible. I ain't gonna lie. Like, I say I ain't gonna lie too much, but niggas need to retire that shit, bro. Like, I'm tired of hearing, like, how many, bro? There's probably at least 20, it's probably at least 20 Lil Baby and Young Thug features out there right now, nigga. Like that shit is atrocious. It shouldn't be that common, bro.
I hear at least 3 or 4 of the other
Like if Travis Scott drops an album, you can guarantee Young Thug, Lil Baby, maybe Gunna, and 21 Savage are gonna be on that album. Always, nigga. It never fails. It never fails. At least three of the four are gonna be on the album.
names
It don't even
that I
make sense.
mentioned previously. Pretty much every rap album since 2018 has a government mandated 21 Savage feature. Like these
And
guys have
I'm
really
telling
just
you, I'm tired of hearing that shit. Like this is niggas. I don't even hate 21 Savage. Like it just got old really quickly. He been doing nursery rhyme raps since 2016,
taken
nigga.
over everything. This group feels almost like a clique or a fraternity of rappers that have dominated the mainstream rap scene. And at this moment, it feels like the tide is kind of turning away from that. You really
Thank
start to
God.
see this shift though in how people talk about Lil Baby. Lil Baby, without a shadow of a
Let that
doubt,
back.
is the golden boy of this group. Even if you don't believe he's the best, even
Mm.
if you think 21, Gunna, or whoever else, Lil Durk, is better than him, there's no denying that he was kind of positioned as the golden goose of this group by the media. Like he was put in that spot as the number one guy going into the future. Like back in 2020, he was the guy with the rocket strapped to his back who was going super crazy with his music, super crazy numbers, number one album, number one song. Like he was the next guy in rap. Some people even put him in the spot of possibly being the guy to unseat Drake one day as the most popular rapper in the world. Like he was called the next Wayne or the Wayne of this generation. That's how high people were on Lil Baby back in 2020, 2021. And he has, without a shadow of a doubt, been a hit maker for the last 7 years. Like that's all he's done is put out hits. But the last two albums that he's released have at best mixed reviews. At best mixed reviews. And people still listen to Lil Baby, don't get me wrong. It's not like he's completely fallen off and nobody listens to his music anymore, but there's no denying that his momentum has slowed massively.
That shit weak.
Massively. Like people are just not really enamored with Lil Baby like they were in 2020, 2021. They kind of feel a little bit over it at this point. Like they feel like Lil Baby has about 4 or 5 tricks in his bag, and that's really it. Like once he gives you that, there's not that much he can do.
Okay. It's really more like three tricks. I know I'm hating, like this is a whole video of hate, but nigga, these niggas like outside of Travis Scott, I'll say Travis Scott and Thug they kind of can switch their flows a little bit. But outside of that, bro, these niggas is sticking to one thing and doing that only.
Anymore.
But to be fair, I ain't gonna lie, like it's not a lot of niggas that don't do that. Like the only niggas is like, okay, Playboy Cardi switches up. I mean, shit, Ken Carson been doing the same shit since AGC. I mean, he hasn't dropped, but like still, I don't know.
You don't really see people calling him the Wayne of this generation anymore, and people just aren't as high on him anymore. They just don't feel that same way that they did. They feel like he's gotten a bit stale. And that kind of criticism or that kind of way of thinking for Lil Baby low key applies to the whole group as well. Some people feel like it's gotten a bit stale. And the internet, as a result, has kind of turned on Lil Baby. Now, of course, he still has fans. Don't get me wrong. He's not the most hated rapper in the game. But there's no denying that you just don't see
Does Lil
that
Baby have
same
fans
Lil
for real?
Baby love anymore. You don't see guys constantly saying, man, Baby top 5. I don't care what nobody say. You just don't see that anymore. This critique of things getting a bit stale seems to kind of be a theme of this group. Like I just mentioned before, Lil Baby gets it, 21 Savage gets it a lot, Lil Durk gets it a lot, and even people have started to give it to Travis Scott, unfairly in my opinion.
Does Dirk? I haven't been listening to Dirk a lot. Does Dirk do the no auto shit still? Like, cause I was a big fan of Dirk when Signed to the Streets 3 dropped. That's before a lot of niggas. Like a lot of niggas only got into him when he dropped like The Voice and shit like that. I was rocking with Dirk when Signed to the Streets 3 came out, bro. But like after that 1 year, like okay, Signs of the Streets came out what? It was I think 2018, and then he had 2019. After that, bro, I guess 2020 was cool. After that, bro, it's just like, come on, we get it, bro.
But mostly with the song 4x4, people were saying, bro, it's not 2018 anymore. So all of these guys kind of get this exact same critique. And I don't think it's an accident. I feel like
Only thing with Travis Scott is his beat selection is still solid.
fans feel like some of these guys are just starting to kind of roll out of the bed and just give us whatever. Just give us anything, and that should be good enough just because it's coming from Lil Baby, or that should be good enough just because it's coming from Lil Durk. That's kind of how fans for saying this. But respectfully, Future gave us 3 albums in 2024. That last one, Mixtape Pluto, is
Look
exactly
at
what I'm
this.
talking about when I say things start to
The
feel a
fuck?
bit stale. There's
Okay.
good music on there, don't get me
Bro, why
wrong,
does that
but
hold on, why
we
does
start to
YouTube
feel a
do
little
this,
bit of
bro?
that repetition, a little bit of that, like, man, are you sure you really had enough
Why
music
is there a hold on, bro? This has nothing to do with the video. Why is there a scroll bar at the bottom of the that literally makes no sense. When did they start doing that?
to make a full length project? Because some of this stuff really just starts to sound the same. Like, again, I know people are going to be mad at me for saying that about Future, but that's just how people really feel about this group of guys. They feel like sometimes this specific
Damn.
group can be very guilty of sacrificing a lot of their quality to give us quantity. I know that I'm framing this in a way that may sound like I'm trying to say these guys' careers are over or something like that, but that's not what I'm trying to get at here. What I am trying to say, though, is that these acts and the ones that are very similar to them are either going to evolve in the next few years or so and move forward with rap, or just kind of get left behind in a way with this era of rap. Now, I have said that I believe that this era is pretty much done, but we haven't fully moved into the next one yet. I don't really know what the next theme or the next era or the next wave of rap is going to look like for the next 5 to 7 years or so. And I think that we're kind of in the middle of this previous one that I've been talking about for most of this video and whatever the next one is. So there still is time for these guys to kind of spice things up and change things up and evolve with time to be able to move on to this next era. But I do believe that that's going to be a necessity for all of these guys. Right now, it feels like the middle class of rap is kind of disappearing. Like, you're either a
Middle class of rap. Low key. I mean, yeah, because the underground is like going crazy right now. I feel like I don't even actually I don't know if the underground is going crazy or if I'm just in a bubble. Uh, I mean, I feel like I don't know, bro. Cause like a lot of niggas listen to Ken Carson, a lot of niggas listen to, and they're not technically underground anymore. But I feel like I don't know. Like do niggas listen? Like okay, I don't. It's just two. It's two sides of rap. I feel like it's like the underground style of rap, and then it's like the Boss Man D-Lo shit, and then like in yeah, I feel like it's those two main things, and then you have some like boom bap niggas, but niggas don't really listen to them for real outside of like real hip hop heads for real, you know?
top dog or you're not. The middle is going away. The middle that was filled with names that aren't blockbuster superstars like a Drake, Kendrick, or a Kanye, but were still big names regardless.
Damn, no
Names
Cole.
like a 21 Savage, a Gunna, a Lil Durk. These guys who kind of filled the middle class of rap. It feels like those spots are starting to go away. And everyone's numbers as a whole, just in music really in general, but especially in rap, seem to be kind of down at the moment. And if these
Okay. In fairness, numbers and everything are down. I'm pretty sure.
guys stay relatively the same, I expect their numbers to reflect that as well. Look at Polo G and Roddy Rich. These are kind of the best examples
Not
of
my dog. He didn't say. Why do you have to say Roddy though? Why do you have to say my dog's name though?
the worst case scenarios for what could happen to these guys. Once upon a time, these guys were grouped
Okay,
in with the names that
chill, 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 nigga. Roddy Rich is not worst case scenario. Nigga just dropped feed the streets. 3. I don't. He's gonna drop something soon. It's probably gonna be fire. He's gonna be back on top, bro. Like chill on my man's, bro.
I mentioned earlier, especially Polo G. He was in the mix with all of those guys. Polo G was one of those guys who was
Polo
looked
G
at
was
as
on
one of
Lil
the
Durk
next
tier.
superstars of rap, one of the next rising stars. But the
I don't know about
combination of
superstar.
really honestly a lack of development plus the fan criticism equaled, well, unfortunately, like his downfall low key. Like Polo G on his album Hall of Fame sold 140K first week. And this, in hindsight, was an album that a lot of people really didn't like. Like Polo G really had a lot of hate starting at Hall of Fame. Like that was the moment where everything started to change in terms of the narrative surrounding Polo G. There were rumblings of critiques and criticisms before, but then it just kind of turned to flat out hate after Hall of Fame was released. But that album still did 140K first week up until his next project, which is Hood Poet in
They
2024, and that
started
album sold
they started calling this nigga. It went from Wolo G to Piano G, piano guitar. The internet is fickle, boy.
24K first week. Polo G got outsold by Ice Spice in 2024
Damn,
in terms of first week numbers.
nigga, Ice
Now,
Spice.
I'm not saying that to say just in a vacuum like this is what happened. There's a whole bunch of context to what
He
happened.
did drop that album. I damn near, I didn't even, I didn't even listen to it. Bro, I don't be listening to albums though. Like, unless you're like like one of my favorite rapper. Like, I'll listen to Ken Carson drop an album. I'll listen to Roddy Rich. Or unless it's an album that everybody's saying like, yo, this album is fire. But outside of that, bro, I'm not really listening to albums like that. Realistically. Cause like it's mad time. Niggas be dropping 28 song albums like Destroy Lonely. Nigga, I will never listen to a Destroy Lonely album again. Unless it's like niggas are saying it's fire. Cause nigga dropped the last two albums that nigga dropped, terrible. And they're like 20 some songs. I don't know what's wrong with that nigga, bro.
Happened between Hood Poet and Hall of Fame and, Polo G's arrest and the album getting delayed a few times. But regardless, at the end of the day, no album with a name tied to it like a Polo G should do 24K first week. And
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not saying that
terrible.
that's what's going to happen to these guys. I'm not saying that that's in their future, but I'm just trying to give an example of the change in reality and how fast it can really come. From 2021, where Polo G is looked at as one of the next big things, next young guy to carry the genre on his back, him, Lil Baby, and NBA YoungBoy are going to be the next big names in rap, to 2024, where he's a complete afterthought. Despite Future being over 40 years old, I do believe he will be.
Bro, I've been saying this to all of my niggas that listen to Future. That nigga is 40, still rapping about perks, nigga. Put the mic down, bro. What are you doing, nigga? That nigga's older than Kendrick Lamar, bro. Really put that into perspective. The nigga's older than Kendrick Lamar. Rapping about toxicity. Nigga, start a family. What is that nigga doing, bro? I'm not nigga. If a nigga tells me to play Future, unless it's March Madness and the shit that came out back then, nigga, no. No, it's not happening, bro.
Able
I'm
to
sorry.
thrive in whatever era is next because he's been adapting and evolving for over a decade now. And I feel a very similar way about Young Thug. So I'm not necessarily worried about those guys too much. Travis
Hating on Future, I just don't listen to Future like that. I'm just hating like for vibes.
Scott is another guy that I'm not really too worried about as an artist. Utopia showed me that he can evolve, and it really
Yeah.
showed me that he has so many different things that he can creatively branch out and do, and so many different things in his.
Personally, I wasn't a huge fan of Utopia. I ain't gonna lie. But I mean everybody else is good, so I guess it's cool. But I just wasn't a huge fan of it. But
His bag. That again, I'm not too worried about it. Maybe a song will come out here and there, like 4x4, where not everyone's convinced, but I'm not too worried about him in the future, at least at this moment in time. But the guys that I am really worried about are definitely Lil Baby and 21 Savage. Now, I would have thrown Lil Durk in this group as well, but I don't think we're going to be getting too much Durk music in the
that niggas
future.
in jail,
But they just don't seem like the type of artists that will be able to
prison.
completely like renovate
Where's he
themselves
going?
and evolve to what's happening surrounding them. Like I really do like Lil Baby and I really do like 21 Savage, so I'm still going to be listening to their music regardless, more likely than not at least. But if there
Damn.
ever were anybody in this group who I could look at and say,
Not gonna lie,
ah,
I'm gonna keep it a buck. Yeah, bro, the way 21 Savage style his locks is the funniest shit ever to me, bro. Like this comb over, like this comb over shit. Maybe that's hate, but I don't know.
but if there ever were anybody in this group who
It
I
look
could look
kind
at
of
and
just a
say,
little sassy.
man, I know they're probably going to have a hard time evolving what they do, it would probably be those two. So that means that they will have to find other ways to keep up with whatever's happening and remain relevant. Whether this group of guys completely fall off or some of them fade into the background and become a little bit more niche as artists and a bit more grounded, kind of like the Baby, where they're still doing their.
Yo, I've been thinking of bro. You know who this nigga looks like? He looks like the super hot fire nigga. Hold on, bro. I got it. Super hot fire. Chill. Hold on, let me not hold myself here. Super hot fire. Look, he kind of looked like him a little bit. He looked just like him. I'm gonna keep it a butt.
bit more niche as artists and a bit more grounded, kind of
Damn.
like Debating,
Yo,
where
is the echo bad? It might be.
they're still doing
I don't know.
performances, still making money. They're just not that guy anymore. Just know that this period of dominance is probably over for these guys. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't move on into the next era and continue to be dominant. It doesn't mean that they can't continue to be a big name. It just means that they're probably going to have to start to bring something newer to the table, something fresher to the table, something where they're showing a little bit more depth or they're evolving a little bit more in order to continue to be one of the biggest names in the genre in the next few years or so.
Yeah.
The days of them just kind of rolling out of bed, dropping any old album, whether it was great or just okay, and still being the face of Rap Caviar and still being the guys whose music is
In the wise words of Young Thug, slow down with that bullshit music, man. Come on.
constantly being played in the club and on the radio, I think are coming to an end. It doesn't mean that they can't continue to do great things and, progress as an artist, but I think that we're just going to be demanding a little bit more from these guys in the future. And the era of them dropping just being enough is probably over, at least in my opinion. But if you made it this far, I greatly, greatly appreciate you. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe,
No
do all those
doubt.
things.
No doubt.